Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades, and this is a review for the ES and NQ futures for September 16th. We're going to start off on the ES as always, then hop over to the NQ after. So starting off here, this is our overnight high, this is our overnight low, these are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. Now notice we have this leg down, break, and a second leg down. A very clear two-legged move. The measured move is not quite met, but we've broken this overnight low here. Now, measured moves act as magnets, so what I'd like to see here, there isn't much room for it, but you could get 2 attempts to fade and look to get in on a fade failure to continue short and reach this measured move down here. Now, when you break out of an overnight level, or a range level, whether you have an active measured move still in play or not, you still want to see 2 attempts to fade before continuing with the breakout, in this case, shorting the breakout. Now, because obviously you don't want to just go short as soon as you see a red bar poking out, because fades are extremely common, and this is why you need to see confirmation. You need to see 2 attempts to fade. So that's why you want to get in on the fade failures in order to buy a breakout. And so in this case here, we obviously don't get that. Price just spikes up to the other side, offering no entries on the way up. I don't like going long here. Now, even though we've pushed above here, we did break out of the overnight low, and yes, we're fading back in, but this measured move is still in play. We haven't had a clear hold back above with this new swing. It really just spiked up out of nowhere, offering no clear entries. So we push up to the highs, we find clear resistance there, it starts going sideways, and then here we finally have a good push down, and now this right here is a failed second entry. It's not a perfect setup. So we have first entry long, and then second entry long right here, and then this is the failure. Now, obviously, this leg right here is very small compared to this leg. So as far as the 2 attempts at a new high, so uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, you can clearly see on a bigger picture, this is just one leg up, but you have to take it one level at a time. But the reason I really liked this here was we got a triple test off the overnight high combined with everything else I just went over. And so this is a very bearish reaction. If we didn't have a good reaction, then I wouldn't like entering here. But we push lower, bearish bar closing on its low. It's reacting just like a perfect failure. The uptrend has a break. It does have 2 attempts at a new high. And so, if price is unable to reverse from here, then we look for the second bigger picture leg. But in this case here, we continue on lower. And the reason I'm confident in entering it is because of this triple test and the bearish reaction off this very clear resistance level. Price couldn't get through it on the initial burst higher. And so this overnight level was strong enough to keep it lower, to push it back lower. And then even after 2 more attempts, all it could do is make a triple test right there. So first test, second test, third test, great bearish reaction. I like that short right there. We push on lower. We break through the overnight low again, this time a lot more than before. We have a very clear leg. So this up here, coming off the overnight high, basically launched a new, much larger downtrend. So we have this downtrend, break. Now, there's 2 things going on here, and this is a competition zone between the bears and the bulls, and I'll explain. So the downtrend has a break. Now, when a trend gets a break, you can expect price to attempt a new extreme. The bears want price to make a new low. They're trying to get in on a short to make a new low for this downtrend. However, we have also broken the overnight low, which means that there are also going to be bulls that want to fade back in. So this is a competition zone. You have to wait for one side to start winning out before you make a decision on a trade. And so this is where if you get 2 attempts to fade, you can still look to get in on the new low for the downtrend. So if we get 2 clear attempts to fade, we can look to get short on a fade failure, and the 2 attempts to fade would basically just be a 2-legged break from this downtrend, which would ultimately be forming a bigger picture failed second entry. Now, here we do get these 2 legs up right here, but it's not like a clear 2-legged break. We have a much a larger leg, break, and then a smaller leg, so it's just an uptrend, break, new high. Now we can still look for a short here, okay? Now this right here, let me adjust this to how it was at the time because I missed this trade right here. So the uptrend has played out with a break to a new high. The downtrend is still expecting a new low. It's not a perfect measured 2-legged move up, but we're still getting a very bearish reaction to the overnight high, the overnight low. However, we have this range right here. Price did start to get choppy, and I would not combine the chop right here with the fact that this 2-legged break is not perfect. So basically this is a heavy, you just need a limit order on this trade here to get out before these lows. And by the way it looks, you do not get filled on a limit order. Now I was focused on the NQ, I wasn't even on the ES chart as this happened, I was flipped over on the NQ. However, since price had reached the low of this range right here, you don't want to continue to try to go short right here because it's already reached the other side, has a very clear reaction showing that it's in play, and you basically have to play the range rules even with these small ranges here. So when you come off one side, price is expected to reach the other side. So it's basically reached the low, because if you tried to enter this, you would want to get out before that low, or worst case basically on it or a tick through, and price has already done that, rejected it before price comes up and fills you. So if price had ticked lower than this red bar and then pushed higher, you could look to get in, but it's already happened. So nothing here for me. It just didn't set up perfectly to where there was a clear entry really. You would need a limit order, but like I said, at this time right here, I was on the NQ. I wasn't even on this chart. So anyway, we push on lower here, downtrend break, first attempt at a new low. Now the reason that I'm not saying downtrend break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, is because this swing has passed this swing. It's already broken that swing. And so if you have a first attempt lower, a correction that doesn't go past the high, then you can say, okay, second attempt lower. But since we have this break, correction, and then another push higher that's breaking the previous swing, this is a two-legged break. So we can expect 2 attempts at a new low from here. Now we get 1 attempt, and that was really all price could do at this point. It just immediately went past that swing, so we don't get our 2 attempts down from there. But we start pushing higher. Price fades this range very clearly. As soon as price breaks out, it fades back up. We start finding more resistance up here, and now this failure, so downtrend break, first attempt at a new low, which obviously failed, that failure is giving us a bigger picture two-legged break. So now we have downtrend, and then this two-legged break right here. So this is just a bigger picture failed second entry. It looks a lot better than this right here because we have actually 2 clear legs up. Instead of just a little uptrend break new high, we have a very clear two-legged move up, nearly measured. And so we get a good reaction off of the overnight high here. I would want to see price, at this point, get below the EMA and hold below with room. Now we can look to extend this a little bit here because we have a few pierces through. We can look to extend it. We don't want to extend it all the way down to here yet because price, we only have 1 push down to that level. Really, to extend a range, you need to see 2 breakouts. But here we have a little pierce out here, another little pierce there, and so we can look to extend it down to there. And then, back to right here. So with this big picture failed second entry, we can look for a short. We just need room. We need a good reaction. Now at this point, price hasn't really been chopping up and down through the EMA enough yet to where I want to enter into it. We pushed up here. It was chopping like crazy around it there, like clearly finding resistance there. Push through here, push back up. But really, the EMA, it hasn't been like, it's still it's still resistance. Like, you don't want to just enter right into it. But then here, as we continue pushing through it, at this point here, we have a full-on range. And so that's when it's okay to enter into the EMA. In a range at this point here, it's just the range is widening at that point, and so it's just not ready yet. So we have a clear reaction to the EMA there, which is the main reason why you don't want to enter. Next bar is not a good signal bar, and then ultimately, by the time we get this, you're just entering way too low into that resistance right here, or excuse me, this support down here. And so we push up off this level right here, which this swing also confirms this level right here. Clearly, price is in this range right here. We can look to extend this high because, again, we have this pierce up here. We have another pierce through there, push lower. We can immediately look to extend it. So this is our range that we're in. Now, where was I? So we push up here. That confirms that level. Now we're off of the high again. This failed second entry, starting from up here, we have first entry long, second entry long, failure. We just could not get a clear entry on it. And so here, price attempts to reverse higher. It gets held down by this overnight low, so we start pushing lower. This is a pretty clear triple test right here. But we have this trend line working up, 1, 2, 3 bounces. Price is unable to get past this level right here, and considering these lows are getting higher every time, it's pretty clear that there's some bullish slant here. Now here, notice that from this two-legged break, remember how I said we can see, we would want to see 2 attempts at a new low from here, since it's a two-legged break. First attempt lower, second attempt lower, perfectly measured to the tick. As soon as it met that measured move, it immediately spiked back up. It held off this low right here, so we have multiple holds off this range low. Very bullish reaction, pushing back above the trend line, and I did not mind entering into the EMA at that point because, again, this range had been active for a while, pushing up and down through the EMA. So like I was explaining with the EMA over here, price just hasn't weakened the EMA enough yet. At this point here, not only do we have a very good setup, a downtrend, two-legged break, and then 2 attempts at a new low with a great-looking failure, it's also weakened the EMA because it's been in this range for so long, pushing back above this trend line right here. So I really like this here. You can see this right here. There was very clear resistance right there, triple top right off that resistance level. So you don't want to just expect price to push through it. I did not want to, given how big picture this trade was, I did not really want to enter with a limit order because I didn't want to miss it. But it was pushing it a little bit out more than I wanted to, given how sharp these reactions were right there. Given these right here, you didn't have a good long entry going into them. However, it's still something you need to consider. So as price reached this right here, put the stop to break even, just, in case it pushes down strong off of that overnight high. Sometimes you might have to push target a little bit more out than you want, but, you can move your stop to break even if that's the case. I don't do that unless I'm very confident in the trade. Like if I wasn't super confident in this pushing all the way through anyway, then I wouldn't have entered it. But this was a very big picture trade. Again, the downtrend had a clear two-legged break with 2 measured attempts at a new low with a very clear bullish reaction, holding off these lows here and getting it back above that trend line. And so I like going long right here. Now, price does end up pushing on through. It has this correction here, but it even goes on, beyond that. So we're continuing into this uptrend here. Now, I left this trend line right here just to show what it looks like at the time of this trade. However, since it pierced through and continued higher, we can look to extend it and copy it over and see what kind of channel we're going into. So let me just draw this out with a channel tool so we can have some color inside. So we're pushing on up higher here. We're almost at this channel high. Now, when you come off a channel high, you want to see 2 attempts to reach the other side before going long again, because just like in ranges, these are basically slanted ranges, okay? They do have a bias. Uptrends obviously have an upward bias. That's why they're called uptrends. However, even if you come off the high, you can still expect price to attempt to reach the lows. And so you can look for a short on the way down, but ideally you just wait for 2 clear legs down and look to continue with the uptrend. There isn't much room for a short in this case here after pushing off of it because you're so close with the overnight high here, or the overnight low, excuse me. So what I'd like to see is 2 legs retesting the overnight low for a long to continue the fade. We've already faded back up, so it's, even though we retested it here, that was not super big picture. It's basically just all part of this same move up starting from right here. And so we have this move up. We could get a 2-legged break from it, so uptrend, break, looking for a new high. Perfect place to get a 2-legged retest of the overnight low for a long. So I'll just draw that out in case anyone, for anyone who's new, just wants to see visuals and, help understand it easier. So if we get a 2-legged break from this uptrend here, this uptrend we can expect price to attempt a new high for it. And it would also be a 2-legged retest off of this major key level here. So we're just now reaching this high, so we'll see how price reacts. Looks like it might end up overshooting a bit, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to hop over to the NQ. That's it for the ES. So here we are on the NQ. Again, overnight high right here, overnight low right here. These are our key levels. 8 o'clock is when I started trading at the same exact time as the ES right here. And so we have this downtrend. At first, obviously, it's like this. You have this little downtrend, tiny break, second leg down. So this is a 2-legged move. But as you can clearly see, just from glancing at it on a bigger picture, this is clearly 1 leg. So we extend it. We have this downtrend, break. We're already pushed out of the overnight low. This is our overnight low, even though it's not a very significant swing. This is really the only swing we have at the lowest point of the overnight, and so this is where it goes, and price ends up reacting very well to it. So we start pushing up here. Now this downtrend has a break, so which means we can expect price to attempt a new low. However, there are still bulls who want to fade this overnight low right here. So we're going into this uptrend. Now this whole structure right here is the break of this downtrend. So downtrend, at first what you have is downtrend, break, and then this is your first small picture attempt at a new low. So downtrend, break, first attempt lower, and that immediately fails, pushing up to a new high. So at this point here, what you have is a two-legged break. And so two-legged break at this swing here, you can expect price to attempt a new low still. You know, what you'd like to see is two pushes at a new low from here, because this is where your two-legged break is. That very quickly fails after attempting to get below the EMA and continues on higher. And so what this is doing is forming a bigger picture break. Everything inside of this channel right here is the break for this downtrend. So you have downtrend and then break, everything inside of it. Now, if you fade the overnight high, remember, this is a competition zone. The bulls want to fade and the bears want to make a new low after the downtrend break. So if you successfully fade, this means the bulls are winning out. And as soon as price fades, we immediately get two attempts to reverse. We get two legs down, holding off the overnight low, very bullish reaction, holding off this trend line, perfect hold off the EMA. And as you can see, this is a limit order trade. There was a pretty clear range forming. You know, we had just barely faded. This downtrend is still in play. And so, you know, these two attempts right here, they're not two attempts at a new low for this downtrend necessarily, because it's still part of the break. You can just look to continue the break with the fade, because the bulls at this point are currently winning out. But you don't want to push it past the resistance. So this is a limit order trade here. And yeah, so price pushes back up, reaches it barely. It's barely within this range right here. And so then price just plummets on down. So this is why we go for the targets we go for. You don't want to push it past anything that's too iffy. In this case here, this was, you know, considering this downtrend was clearly in place still and we had barely faded, you know, you definitely want to keep your target inside, because price did go a couple ticks above. It's blocked there, but, or one tick above it looks like, but really you want to keep your target inside if you can. And so anyway, after the fade, we got two attempts to reverse, just going over it again. Bullish reaction. The entry was a little too high, needed a limit order. And yeah, target filled up there, push on lower. Obviously, no one likes to see their target barely get filled, but every now and then that happens. It's just a part of trading. It's nothing to worry about. We push on lower here. Now we have this two-legged move down forming. Very clearly, this is basically a rejection of the overnight low at this point. When you get a push out like that, you know, this strong on a second leg down, this is basically just a quick retest. Even though it did fade and hold above for a second, that's basically what price has done. And so anyway, we push on lower here. Downtrend has a break, push to a new low. At this point, the downtrend is considered played out. However, we do still have, which let me delete, that's from a previous day overnight. We have this measured move right here still in play, even though the downtrend has a break and a new low. And so the downtrend is played out. Price can attempt to reverse. However, if price struggles to reverse, we can look to get short to reach this measured move down here. Now, here we have this push up, break, a second push up, and I'm going to compare this to the ES, where exactly it was on the ES. So I'm going to flip over to the ES real quick. As you can see, this is around 945. So 945 on the ES, this area here. This is that area that I said I was focusing on the NQ at. It did not set up nearly as good on the ES, but on the NQ here, the legs are much more clear. Stemming from here, we have a first entry long, second entry long, failure, so failed second entry. I didn't like entering immediately right here because this green bar covers up so much of this red bar. It's like adjacent to it, nearly engulfing it. So I just wanted to see price get away from this level right here, especially because it was getting so high above the EMA. You know, with the measured move, the up measured move not quite met yet. So let me draw that out. So you have this measured move in play right there, and it's not being met. And so I did not like entering on this bar right here that's barely getting back below. But then here, price attempts to push up again, and then failure because you have this green bar above the EMA. Price pushes higher. The longs are piling up here, and then it just flushes on down to where their stops are. And so that's why I liked it after that. We push on lower here, downtrend, break, push to a new low or attempt at a new low. It only made a double bottom there, but it did have a very sharp reversal. Now we get a sharp reversal, and so some people will just not say, oh, we can't go short because we're getting a reversal. However, what prices do, look at what price is doing on a bigger picture. It's not just that it held off this trend line right here, that I like this right here. So I'm going to draw out what's happening on a bigger picture. I'm just going to unclutter a bit first. So here you have, sorry, let me just get this all drawn. So here you have your first entry long and then second entry long. So this is big picture, first entry long, second entry long, and then failure. So this is a bigger picture failed second entry. Right here, it was a failed second entry. It's stemming from here, the second leg down. But this right here, on this failure, since price failed and then ended up holding off of this resistance level here, the key entry point, the trend line, that means we have an opportunity for this bigger picture failed second entry, which obviously, even though this downtrend has a break and a new low, since price is failing to reverse, it's finding clear resistance right here off this level, we can look to reach this measured move down here still on a bigger picture, and we get a very clear bearish reaction to the trend line. It's a big picture failed second entry, rushing below the EMA, very clear hold. This is a great looking trade right here. So we push on lower. At first it does not reach it on this first leg. It ends up needing a little correction, retest the trend line, and then we get a second leg down. And I intentionally kept my target right above this right here. I mean, obviously entering with a stop order you have to, but if the entry was lower, then I would want a limit order in order to keep price, I would want to keep the target above this level right here, because this is a clear double top in the middle of a downtrend. Price was unable to reach the lows. That's not a good sign for a downtrend. And so you have to consider things like that. In a downtrend, a healthy trend, it goes from side to side to side to side, okay? Or I should say top to bottom to top to bottom. But in this case here, on the push to the low of the trend, it was unable to reach it. It made a double bottom right there. Now, we still got a clear reaction. We can still look for our short and get in on this trade here, but we have to consider this channel is starting to lose steam because of this double bottom right here, unable to reach these lows here. So we got our good trade, but then here we make a triple bottom. It comes within a tick or so of it. It really gets close to retesting it there, and then it just pushes on off there. So this was basically the last two attempts of this channel. This was where it lost all of its steam before breaking. And so we push on lower here. We get our two legs down. I'm going to draw these out. So two-legged move down, and then as soon as price nearly, it doesn't technically make the triple bottom, but it basically almost makes it there, and then price starts reversing higher. Little bit of chop at the at the trend line. Price, the bear is trying to keep price down here for the last time, and then it just breaks. And so what we could get, and it looks like we're starting to get that a little bit here, is a two-legged break to the trend line, or excuse me, to the overnight low here in order to look for a new low. So downtrend break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. Great thing to see is a two-legged break holding off of a key level, and that would be the overnight low here. Now I would like to see a bigger separation between these legs, because on a bigger picture you can clearly tell that you're just going into one trend here, and so I don't want to enter short into this trend line here. So because what I'd like to see is, sorry, let me just draw this out here. What I'd like to see is a break. Ideally it wouldn't have gone so high already, but we have to work with what we work with, or we have to work with what we have. And so what I'd like to see is something more like this. Now, this second leg does not have to be measured here. We can just get another significant attempt and reach this overnight high, or excuse me, overnight low. And if we get a good reaction, we can look for a short. And say price doesn't offer a good short right off of the overnight low here, price could push lower into a smaller failed second entry, and we could still look for the new low for this downtrend, or look for a short to get in on the new low for the downtrend. And so that's what I'd be looking for here. Let me get back to exactly where I was. So we push out here. Price has a couple attempts down. It holds off the EMA, and that pushes, that continues this channel here. But yeah, another thing that could happen in this area here. So we have the break. So downtrend, break, another thing that we could get is just straight up from here is a push lower into a failed second entry, because if we have that, so push lower, and then a couple legs up, straight away from here, we would have from this uptrend, so we'd have uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. And so we would be able to get in on a short to make a new low for this downtrend right here, while having the peace of mind that this uptrend is played out with 2 attempts at a new high. Even though it doesn't make a new high, in this situation here, if it pushes up a little higher, it would. But it doesn't necessarily need to make a new high if you have 2 clear attempts, because then you can just look to get in on the failure at a new high to continue with this downtrend. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd much rather see that than another big leg up, because then it's probably not going to set up in time for me if I keep trading a little longer. So yeah, I'd like to see something like this if we just could get a reversal pattern to continue down. Ideally, we'd push up a little bit and retest that overnight high first just to get some added momentum. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope it helped out in some way, and thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.